Why, hello there, everybody. How are you doing today? It's me again. And, well, I'm here to give you all an update. And before you even ask, nope, my phone has not gone one ringy-dingy yet. And I say yet. My problem will be resolved not when the criminals decide that they haven't, to tell the truth, because the criminal's never going to tell the truth. The criminal does everything that they can do to avoid the law, avoid accountability. My situation will be resolved once, and the swamp will be drained as soon as law-abiding citizens stop believing that there is somebody in charge of them. That's the problem in this country. Because you all believe that it's somebody else's job. You're incapable of doing something on your own. Some of you all are just lazy. So instead of finding a solution, you come up with excuses why it's not being done. See, I'm reporting crimes. I'm sitting here watching the Cherished Periwinkle case, okay? And I can prove it. Cherished Periwinkle should not have ever been kidnapped, raped, and murdered on June 21st, 2013 by one Donald Smith, because Donald Smith should have never been released from jail because the supposed state attorney, Terrence Martin, that made that plea deal with him, stopped being an attorney back in 1998 when he did what he did to me. They have stolen 20 years of my life. And that scares a lot of you all, because if they did it to me, they could very easily do it to you. And then look what the end result was. 3 Thornton women, Grandma Thornton, Mama Thornton, and Daughter Thornton, are convinced, and I can show you the news clip, the news story. They're convinced that it's their fault that Cherished Periwinkle was kidnapped, raped, and murdered, because it was the 3 Thornton women who Donald Smith tried to hook up with the then 10-year-old Thornton daughter. And Terrence Martin made a plea deal. Terrence Martin thought he could do whatever in the world he wanted to do because, well, they prosecuted, and I've got the documentation of it, they prosecuted a false arrest of me, and then lied to me, told me that it was all over and done with, had one judge impersonate a judge, one person impersonated a judge, that's Charlie Coffer, impersonated a judge, lied to me, told me everything was over and done with, and then tried to sweep it underneath the rug by rewriting the arrest and booking report and having a court case off the books. Only it ended up getting documented by being it ended up on the docket of one Mallory D. Cooper. This all happened in I was kidnapped and held for ransom on December 3rd, 1997. There's over 100 criminals. All of them are supposed law enforcement officers. And because what was done to me back in 1997, because they tried to cover that up, The end result was, because it got documented, now everybody's on the hook. Now, if anybody says anything, then we're all going to prison. So that means I'm going to go around, and Terrence Martin thought he could do whatever in the world he wanted to do. Because if I go down, you all going down with me. So what's the end result? The end result was, one, he stopped being an attorney. So now he's walking around like a little dictator. And you law-abiding citizens are allowing it to keep going on. And he wanted a 10-year-old little girl, a Christina Thornton. He wanted that Christina Thornton to go up on the bench and face Donald Smith when she didn't have to. They had more than enough evidence. So he said, fine, we'll just make a plea deal with him. He's not a threat. He lied to the Thornton family, said, I'm going to make sure he's in prison for 5 years, and then made a plea deal where he only had to spend 1 year in jail. And again, he's playing state attorney. He stopped being an state attorney. He filed false papers with the court to and before the Honorable Mallory D. Cooper back in 1998. And what's the end result? That means he stopped being an attorney. I got all the paperwork. They was kind enough to sign their names to it. So what was the end result? 21 days after he made the plea deal, Donald Smith only had to spend 1 year in jail. Maybe I'll play the clip for you, the news media clip. Y'all can stomach it. What this sick bastard asked a 10-year-old little girl. Donald Smith. So Donald Smith gets 1 year in jail, and then exactly 21 days he gets out of jail on May 31st because of the plea deal that he made that Terrence Martin made with him. But one problem. Terrence Martin is no longer an attorney. So what happens? 21 days later, Donald Smith meets up and befriends, plays a good little Samaritan because he's a threat to the Periwinkles, and then walks out of Walmart with 8-year-old Cherish Periwinkle. Kidnaps her. Rapes her, and now we're finding out that the trial came out, violently murdered her. The little girl suffered. I cannot remain silent. Donald Smith did it, but he had assistance. Terrence Martin is one of them. Charlie Coffer is another one. Taggart. Supposed Judge Taggart, they're all criminals, folks. Just because they have a title does not mean that they're in charge, does not mean that they're incapable of violating the law. You want to drain the swamp? You want to drain the swamp? Just apply the law. You see, they have you all convinced that you are a criminal. And they're holding that over your head. Well, hey, if we enforce it on us, then we're going to have to enforce it on you. Yet a law enforcement officer, anyone who has taken an oath to uphold the law and fulfill the law, and that's everybody, that's basically everybody in government. Anyone that has taken an oath in government, in any position, in any servitude mode, law enforcement, attorneys, judges, mayors, city council members, congressmen, senators, presidents, as soon as they overlook a law being violated and choose not to enforce the law when they know the law has been violated, they've just become a criminal. So says the law. And they are no longer a lawful authority. So says the law. But you all are convinced that everything will stop rotating, the world will stop spinning if these people get out of office, because they're the ones that making it working when they're not doing anything except overlooking and getting fat and happy and raping you, me, we, shredding the Constitution. So, what needs to happen? You law-abiding citizens need to stand up, just like me. They haven't been able to do anything to me physically. They can't just come grab you off the street. They can't do it with me now. I'm telling you, I can't sleep at night. I can't sleep at night knowing that Cherish Periwinkle, they shouldn't be having that trial. So why hasn't Mallory Cooper gotten back with me? I don't know. I don't know. Go ask her. Go ask her. I'm not going to take matters into my own hands. I'm not about to give these people an out. I'm just going to sit here and keep reporting these crimes. You all can keep overlooking it all you want. If Almighty God's telling you to do something about this, if Almighty God's telling you to do something about anything, period, and you're refusing to do it, you're sinning, and you're going to pay for it with you. You are writing a check with your disobedience that you are going to have to pay for with your eternal soul. You want to make America great again? Stop worrying about everybody who hasn't taken an oath. That's the celebrities, that's the news media. And the first thing you do is you hold yourself accountable, and then you stand up and you demand that our laws be enforced. And you hold everyone who has taken an oath accountable to that oath. And as soon as they choose to not fulfill their oath, they need to be removed immediately. There must be a penalty. We have to stop overlooking all this stuff. And here's the biggest reason, and it's the last thing. The biggest reason why you all want to overlook everything is because you do not want to be held accountable for yourself. Well, I got news for you. No one escapes accountability. Because at the end of the road, at the end of the line, Almighty God is waiting. And you will have to stand on your own merit and give an account for what you did and what you didn't do that you were supposed to do. Did you tell the truth, or were you living a lie? Me? I'm going to be an obedient servant of the Most High God. I'm going to keep reporting these crimes. Almighty God's moving. Spirit of God is moving. When are you going? Inaction is an action when an action is required, or doing nothing is doing something when something needs to be done. If they're willing to do it to me, if they're willing to steal 20 years of my life, if they're willing to lay a guilt trip on 3 women, one of which was 10 years old, now she's like 16 or 17, Christina Thornton. That little girl believes it's her fault that Cherish Periwinkle was kidnapped, raped, and murdered. If they were willing to allow and unleash a known sexual offender, he's a predator. He just hadn't done anything physical yet. Well, there's always the first time, and Cherish Periwinkle was the first time. If they were willing to allow an 8-year-old little girl to get kidnapped, raped, and murdered. What makes you think they're not willing to come and do the very same to you or to one of yours? It's time to start holding people accountable, irregardless of their title, irregardless of the size of their viewing audience, irregardless of their popularity. The only question that remains is, what exactly are you going to do? This is going on all across this country, folks. Right there, even in your own little locale. The only one that can tell the truth, the only one that can make sure that you tell the truth is you. The only one that can stand for you is you. You will eat... No. Nope. So I'm just going to keep standing right here. I'm just going to keep reporting these crimes. And last time, 8-year-old Cherished Periwinkle, that trial shouldn't be going on. The only reason why it's going on is because 100 plus criminals are afraid. They're cowards. They're afraid of the truth because they are afraid of accountability. And they are trying to obstruct justice. They are trying to use their positions to obstruct justice. That's the same thing that's going on up in Washington as well. The criminals are simply trying to use their positions to make sure that they're not held accountable for anything. Well, guess what? It's coming to an end. You want things to happen quick? Hold yourself accountable. Because as soon as you hold yourself accountable, then you will refuse to let somebody else get off with not being held accountable, because you are holding yourself accountable. You can then hold another accountable. Period. We are either a country of laws or, well, we're all just wasting our time. We're just a bunch of slaves. No. You want to drain the swamp? You want to drain the swamp? Because that's what happens in the swamp. People get killed in the swamp. People die in the swamp. 8-year-old Cherished Periwinkle should have never been kidnapped, raped, and murdered. How about that? Never. Never, ever, ever. Should have never happened. But it did. Now, who's going to pay the price? Donald Smith did it. He's going to pay the price. But you know what? Donald Smith was allowed to do it. He was unleashed. And the only reason why he was allowed to do it is because, well, he had a bunch of people who just grabbed hold of a title. A lot of fakes and frauds and counterfeits running around. Time to hold them accountable. They're not doing their job. They are not in charge. They are lying to you. They are bullies. They are thugs. They are the problem. It's time to enforce and uphold our laws. Just saying.